We'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Henrie Rosales. I'm CEO of the American Book Sport Association. I'm sure many of you already know who I am. I have the short task of introducing our host guest for each of these webinars, who then takes it from there. And we're changing things up on these webinars. Our host guest, our guest host for tonight is Carl Kortz. He is the vice chair of the National Board of Directors for the organization, and he's been very involved with the organization, serving in various committees. The latest one was the Olympiad Committee, and he's also, I believe, he's chair of the Awards and Recognition Committee currently, the National Committee. So with that, I'll turn things over to Carl Kortz, who will take it from there. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Henry. So tonight we've got three things on the program. Two we'll be able to do for sure. If the second one runs a bit long, we might have to push the third segment to another future webinar, but we'll just have to see how things go. So the three topics tonight. First one is Inside Scoop on Las Cruces, New Mexico, by the co-presidents of the Sun Country Striders in Las Cruces, New Mexico, site of the AVA convention, April 29th to March 3rd of next year. The second part will be a discussion on the AVA budget and how that is developed and measures that headquarters takes to minimize expenses to the organization. And then the third topic will be Ed, our finance chair, explaining some of the process that was involved in the fee increase. We also have with us tonight, I believe, Bob Buselich, who was the chair of the committee that investigated fee increases and ultimately made recommendations to the board for their action. So without further ado, do I have Henrietta Vargas and Eileen Roberts?
I do not see them, Carl.
I see Eileen's name, or I did.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can talk.
Yeah, can you see us?
I don't see your video on. I see your name. So
Just a second.
click at the bottom. Scroll down to the bottom, and you'll be able to share your video.
No, just a minute.
Okay.
There you are.
Oh, there we are. Okay, we're all
We're under a severe alert, so sorry.
okay. All right.
Looks like you're having fun.
Okay, it's Eileen and I right here. Can you still hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. So tell us what you want us to know about Las Cruces and all of the events coming up.
Okay, there's a lot to know about Las Cruces and the Mesilla Southwest area. I can't begin to tell you, hands down, you are going to get the best Mexican food ever. You will never be able to go anywhere else that you will have the same experience like you will here. So your food is one of the best things. Second best thing is that you've got very, very, very friendly people. We love to communicate and enjoy company from people from all over the world. So we are very good at hosting people from different parts. So that's the second. Third, you have the state of enchantment. I mean, our state has wonderful places to hike and places to visit and culture. Oh my God, our Southwest culture is beyond measure. You have two interstates that intersect here in Las Cruces itself. So it's easy to get to. You have Texas to the south with El Paso, who is considered one of our sister cities. Then you go west and you will have, you'll be going into Arizona, and then east, of course, you've got East Texas. And north, you will have Santa Fe and Colorado. So it's so easy to get here. Our hiking is especially at that time of the year, what is it, end of April, beginning of May, is perfect weather. I mean, it's not going to be too hot. So you will enjoy the walking weather. It's going to be nice at that time. I don't know what else.
Well, the desert is starting to bloom then, and one of the walks that's being proposed is around a mountain, and there's a forest of ocotillas there that bloom around that time, and it's just breathtaking to walk through there. Plus, the cactus are blooming. It's just a beautiful time to be here.
Yeah, the Organ Mountains, which are to the east of us, have numerous different hiking trails up through Aguirre Springs and up to the peaks. It will be nice. Not to mention Mesilla. Mesilla is one of the older Pueblos areas, Santa Fe Trail going up north. So our plaza is very nice. You know, lots of shops. I mean, fabulous restaurants, not just Mexican food, but very eclectic kinds of cuisine that you'll be able to get. And our wineries in this area are becoming very well known. So our wines are very good. So anybody who enjoys a dinner with a glass of wine will enjoy being here. We are going to, there you go. We've got it already. We also have the convention center is hosted right there next to New Mexico State University, which there's going to be a walk that goes through the university. It's very nice, very casual, very pleasant, not trafficy. It will be a good walk to have.
The landscaping is beautiful.
Yes. There's a museum there that's called Azul. The museum is very, very nice. So I think you will walking through the university area. It's pleasant. And even Las Cruces, Mesilla is very pleasant. It's not high traffic. It's not metropolitan. We are a very laid back area. So I think people who come here, yes, they're going to be doing a lot of walking, but I'm hoping that they will take the time to enjoy our land of mañana, because that's where it's going. You will experience it here in this area with us. Anything else?
Well, you know, I think it isn't as hectic as the northern part of the state, because, you know, most people end up going to Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and they're great, but we've got a slower pace here that will take your blood pressure down. And, you know, we have walks that are up in the Organs that are gorgeous our year rounds, and it's very easy to get to White Sands National Park, which I think that should be on everybody's bucket list. It's just a fun place to go to. There's a lot here, and if you will just give yourself some time to be here and look around, don't be walking just to get it done, but take your time to look around and enjoy the architecture and the people. I think that you'll be quite happy that you came to Las Cruces.
Yes, it's a wonderful place to de-escalate, to enjoy good food, good wine, and we have a lot of people that do come to hike our areas because of the Organ Mountains, because of the Eight Mountain, because there's
The
just
national monument.
here
Yeah.
we have the national monument here that has been that we are very, very happy with. I am so glad that they've made the national monument. It has saved us a lot. And I would love to share that with a lot of people. I think that in itself is a plus for us. And like I said, it's just laid back. You need to come and just enjoy some time here.
This area of Las Cruces in El Paso is called the borderland because we are bordering Mexico. And, you know, up until a few years ago, the going back and forth across the border was nothing. You know, you expected it. You had family on both sides of the border. And so it's really its own separate, almost like a separate little state that El Paso and Las Cruces would make up with Mesilla. You know, we're different from the rest of this state, and El Paso is certainly different from the rest of Texas.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I still have no problems going into Juarez. I love going down there to have lunch or to have dinner. It's not like it's portrayed in a lot of different places. It's a nice place. And the idea that they're proposing a walk between El Paso and Juarez, I think is fabulous. I think it's going to be very enjoyable for people. I don't think people are going to have an issue with it or any issues going. It's going to be very pleasant for everybody. And
they'll be working out. Going into Mexico is not a problem. Coming back is what takes a long period of time. And so I think that the convention people are working with El Paso and trying to come up with a remedy for that, because there can be lengthy waits to come back across. So I'm sure that they're going to get that worked out.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I dropped it. I think the TSA coming across it can be very difficult for some people, and if we can work that out, we'll be doing good. But I don't think going into Juarez or Mexico is a problem. It's getting back into the United States that might be.
So bring your passports.
Oh yes, most definitely. You need to have a passport to go back and forth. Okay, please don't forget that. And I don't know. I think you will enjoy it. I think I've got a speaker who I think would be very enjoyable to listen to. She's very, very well versed in some of our national parks and state parks that we have here in New Mexico, and is very knowledgeable about the Southwest area here. And I asked her if she would speak, and she said she'd love to come and speak to anybody who would listen to her. So please feel free to reach out to either Eileen or I. We would love to sit down or email or give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet with you. It would be wonderful just to have you all here. Yeah, I think we're done.
Well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions at the moment that you would like to ask? Again, raise your hand to ask a question, and I'll call upon you when I see your hand raised. And that's using the reaction button at the bottom in the Zoom tools bar that says raise hand. Anyone? Well, I know I'm looking forward to it. I recently got global entry. And so a reminder for anybody that happens to have global entry, be sure to bring your global entry card, because the card is used to go back and forth across the border.
Oh, okay. You know what? I've never heard of that global entry. What is that?
Global entry is an expedited entry into the country. So if you're traveling, so as an example, when Brenda and I came back from Australia, our entry into the country was bypassing the normal lines answering questions on the kiosk and then walking straight through up to the agent, and he said, "Welcome back."
Oh, thank you. I am going to get one of those.
But I
It-
still have to have my passport. I have global entry, but I had to have my passport as well.
Okay, yeah, you need your passport just in case, but whereas when you're flying into the country, the card is not required. If you're crossing by land, the global entry card is required to use the global entry access points.
Okay. All right. Well,
At
thank
least
you.
that's what the information told me when I received it.
I'm sure. Well, thank you very much for having us. We're very excited to have you come down, and we look forward to seeing anybody. Please give us a call if you're going to come through here before next April. We'd love to sit down and walk with you, or have lunch or dinner or anything else. Okay.
Henry, you have a question?
Yes, I think Ed also had a question. I just was wondering where you all are at. Looks like you're having a good time there.
We're at a delicious Italian restaurant called Lorenzo's, and they treat you very well here. And the food is delicious.
Yeah,
We come here a lot.
Yeah, we have glasses of wine, lots of salads, lots of pastas, but Lorenzo's is a good place to come in and it's right next to the university. So it's very accessible to any of the people that are going to be staying in the area.
And they have a green chili lasagna that you will not get anywhere else in the world.
Yes, and it's delicious.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you have a question,
Anyone
Ed?
else?
No, I was just one. It looks like they give a very good pour, but I just Las Cruces looks like a lot of fun. Can't wait to go. Was just wondering how y'all are doing with regards to the fires. If y'all are completely in a different area, or
It's 2 hours away.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruidoso is about it's north east of us, and
In the mountains.
way up in the mountains. So it's very foresty. We're down on a plateau kind of area, so
In the desert.
in the desert, it's not going to reach us.
Yeah, the
But-
creosote doesn't burn.
So, but Ruidoso, where we had some plans of having some walks, could be affected. We don't know. After the fire died down, Eileen and I are planning to go up there and check out to see what's going on.
I have a family cabin there, and so far it's okay, but I have a friend whose cabin burned down, so we're really watching it closely. And thank heaven, there's a storm in the Gulf that is bringing rain up here, and we are quite thankful for that.
Well, glad you're doing okay, and look forward to meeting you both.
Oh, we will be here with bells on. We look forward to it.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. Appreciate all the information. Everybody mark your calendars. That's coming up April 29th to May 3rd of 2025. And Henry was wondering if I was still chair of the awards committee. Yes, I am. And we will have live awards show again at the convention, live and in person, instead of via Zoom. So I look forward to that, as I hope you do too. Get those nominations in for national awards,
Yes.
by the way.
One more thing I would like to add is that right after the convention, we will be doing our county walks. We're doing all of the county walks in New Mexico over a period of 4 years. And so this next year, we're going to be doing the northwestern part of the state. And so there will be, if you want to just keep going from here on up further north, there will be more walks available.
Yes, and that it's going to be a very interesting part of our state, because it's all going to be surrounded by our Navajo indigenous culture up there. So it's going to be involving a lot of their reservations and pueblos, and lots of nice jewelry. Of course, we have lots of turquoise here in New Mexico.
All right, thanks again.
Well, thank you. Please say, Tocayo, I want to say hi. All right, thank you.
All right, so part one is done. Part two, discussion of the budget process at AVA headquarters. And I believe Henry would like to introduce this section of the program.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening again, everyone. So there's as stated in the last checkpoint, we want to hear everyone's concerns. That's why a survey was sent out. And this is part one of probably a three-part series in response to some of the concerns that were brought up, some of the bigger issues that were brought up within the survey itself. The results of the survey will be available to everyone after they're completed. They're going through review through the committees because each committee submitted questions. And so they're reviewing the responses, and then they'll be creating summaries. And then once we have it in a report form, that'll be presented to the board of directors. And then from there, it'll go to any committee members that requested or clubs. So we're happy and eager to share that with everyone. It's just not ready to send out. There were a lot of questions and a lot of responses, as you're well aware of. So one of the bigger themes of the survey was around financial transparency and processes, and how we handle revenues and expenses, how basically what is the budget process and how is that handled and who makes those decisions. And so this first part is going to sort of deal with the budget process and how some of those key financial decisions are made, because well, I think just as members should know that there is a process, and there is we do follow protocols, the way we make key decisions here in the organization. And a lot of it is determined by the leadership of the organization, which is the board of directors, the national board of directors. And so to start things off, I'm going to introduce Ed, who's our chair of the finance committee on the board of directors, and then Ed McCabe, and Erin Grosso, who is also the finance director, who works for the organization. Ed is a volunteer. He's a CPA. He was elected, and he gives his time to this organization because he believes in what we do, and we appreciate the expertise that he brings. Erin's been with us several years now. She learned kind of had to take a jump start on how she learned some the finances were going on here, because we changed a lot of things, and hopefully we're making things better. So one of the key things that comes up frequently is that when we talk about our budget, revenue, expenses, is well, just go ahead and cut personnel. What I do want to point out that 7 years ago, we had 7.5 FTEs. FTE is a full-time employee status. Right now, we currently have 4.5. So we have looked at that equation on the expense side, and we have cut personnel within the past 7 years. I do further just want to add that the employees that we do have, I'm just going to read off the top three priorities or tasks or areas of their realm of work for you, if you will, and then we'll go into the shift over to Erin on the budget process. But for starting with myself, one of my key responsibilities is, obviously there's correspondence. If you send me an email, you're going to get a response, unless it slipped through the cracks or it went into spam or something. And those of you that do communicate with me, you know that I do respond to everyone's emails or correspondence, however you send them. But your correspondence to the board members, club officers, members in general, and training for members. These webinars are part of my scope of work as well. The second key one is partnerships at all levels, local, state, and national. And these partnerships, they lead to revenue or growth or program growth or organizational growth, but just all types of partnerships in general. And then the third one is managing the national office facilities, contracts, committees, events, etc. Erin, she's our finance manager. Top three priorities are areas of work are budgets, financial reports, tax returns, so all the financial reporting, event planning, and she manages merchandise and all the merchandising and is the associate director in my absence. Marion handles all cash receipts, disbursements, and invoicing. And she manages the OSP and grouper payment portals and processing systems. And she currently handles the membership processing of ABA Associate. Hector handles tech support, and that in general, that covers all the support with sanctioning, graphics, websites. People need to change an event or they got stuck sanctioning event. So it's not just the specific tech support, it's all areas where clubs need help related to those departments. He also helps with the tall checkpoint and starting point book production and distribution, and also stamp production. Those are three big buckets for Hector. Karen is awards processing, phones, and all shipping and handling. And Karen is only part-time; she's not full-time. So that's our team. That's who we have, and those are, if you could generalize and put big buckets of what everyone is doing or where they're at, that's kind of summing it up. That by no means is inclusive of everything and all the other tasks and what those other tasks involve. So just to give you some overview of who we have and what folks currently do here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Erin.
You're on mute, Erin. Erin, you're on mute.
Is that there? Geez, those were some really good opening statements. I'm not gonna do them again. I'm kidding. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear.
okay, good. It keeps telling me my internet's unstable, but I think in general, those people that aren't talking should probably close their video. So in working with the budget, it's a long process. We generally, well, first of all, it's a model of how we think the business is going to perform in the coming year. We work with different strategies on how we might overcome some expenses, or in our case, it's generally decreasing revenues, how we're going to address that, how we can more closely predict what's going to happen in some of those areas. Basically just an attempt to forecast income and expenditures coming in the coming year. We start the process somewhere between September and October 1st. We like to start as early as possible. Some things we know we can work on hard costs or work on negotiating insurance policies, for example. Some of the places that we are able to control and reduce expenses. We'll start that in September. Henrie looking for insurance policies, things like trying to control and order awards in bulk or sooner. For that example, the TAW, that expense has come down almost $18,000, and getting that electronic process together. So we start working on some of that very early. October, we really start trying to put the whole package together. We also consider new revenue streams. For example, this coming year, we'll be looking at Aramark revenue, which is a new revenue stream that the national office staff and local clubs are volunteering with Aramark to work big events like at the AT&T Center, the Alamo Dome, or whatever, and they pay us for that time that we're there. And I believe we've already earned close to $6,000 in this 6-month period. So if we can keep that pace up, we'll have a new revenue stream of about $12,000. It's the Silver Shoe Grouper program. That's another one we're considering. We have, they're reporting that they have somewhere around 536 new members. And so that'll bring in, you know, a fair amount of revenue too. And we're just in the first couple of months on that. Walk on Waves, community walk. We're trying to do as much as we can here in the local area. And sometimes people will say, well, why does that matter what you're doing in San Antonio? That doesn't help any of us. Well, you can see it does. We have to, that's the area, the only area that the national office can work in other than at conventions. And so it's important for us to try to work with local partners and bring this in, and it's making a difference, clearly. So that's the first step, getting all of those initial numbers together. Henry and I work really closely together, and then we grab Ed in and work with him. He'll review it. We'll go over it a couple of times back and forth with each other, and ultimately by November 1st, we submit, we have a draft ready to go and to send to the board. And we try to give them as much time as we can to review it, send their opinions back. Of course, the board is the one who's going to vote on it, and so we have to respond to all of their questions and get back with them with whatever information they need to understand the validity of the budget or the potential of this to be a balanced budget. So by that, we usually, after that, it'll go to the board for a vote in the board meeting, and they can pass it if they agree with it and they think it's a good budget. And if they don't like it and they don't want to pass it, they don't have to, and they'll kick it back. And we'll do that process until it gets passed. Also, I know that we've put this together out. I've put something out there before, and I'll probably have Hector post something that on this webinar connected to that explains the financial statements, what's a balance sheet, what is an income statement, what's the budget. There's also budget narratives attached to it if anybody is concerned or questioning how we got to that number. There's a narrative with all the math attached to it, and that's basically the budget process. So if anybody has any questions on that, you're welcome to ask them.
Can I add to that, Erin?
Absolutely, Ed.
Thanks, Erin. It's funny. The first of all, the discussion within the board meetings and with the membership, 90% of it centers around expenses. You know, why are expenses? Where can we cut expenses? Maybe we can do this cheaper or that cheaper. You know, I've worked with various organizations. I'm a CFO of a K through 12, and so I've looked at a lot of businesses and non-for-profits and how they do business, and we are pretty bare bones. We really are. You know, the other thing is you know, we try to be as transparent as possible when we go. I mean, that budget's not created behind closed doors. It's not the Wizard of Oz. You know, don't look behind the curtain. It's presented to all the regional directors and deputy directors, and you know that are there at the meetings, and it's discussed. And you know, in fact, this last year we went line by line through the budget, and and it's voted on by them. So I mean, it is a process that we do get the membership involved, and you know, it's something that I wish we had more money to allocate to various things, and I think we could do more programs. But you know, one thing that I always say every time I present the budget is that our real issue is revenue, and we need to do a better job with that. Right now, 36% of our revenue comes from non-operational revenue, which means that is grants when they're available, that's sponsorships, And our biggest fundraiser is the Big Give, and that's really important. That's going to be coming up this fall. You know, I'm going to be chairing that for the AVA, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of you, but that's a huge fundraiser for us. So all those functions that the national office does, that does impact our clubs. Those can't happen if we don't raise that money. That's, it said 36% of our budget, our revenue budget comes from non-operational revenue. So to me, it's really important that we get behind those things that where we can, you know, close that gap. And that's basically what fundraisers are for. It's to close the gap between what it costs to do business and what we're bringing in.
Okay, I don't see any questions yet, but there is one comment I'll pass along. The AVA may be doing well, but clubs are not doing as well. Expenses are exceeding the money brought in from a walk. If the AVA wants to support clubs, they need to rethink this.
Well, my response to that would be that I think we need to look at revenue streams all across, you know, across the organization. It's not, you know, we can cut expenses in some ways, potentially. But really, what are we doing? What can we do to bring in revenue across the board? How can we bring in revenue locally with the clubs? How can we bring in revenue at the national office and have that trickle down to the clubs? How can the national office provide more services for the clubs? But yeah, I definitely feel that, and I would say that same comment goes for the national office as well.
Yeah, and since I've been here, this is the same question I've been asking to regional directors, because that's who I work directly with. What's going on with the clubs in your area, and are there areas, clubs that need help, and if so, how can we help them? Is it financial? Is it technical? Is it other? We even came up with a form that would help. The clubs could fill out for mini grants, if you will, for events or certain things. But the response has been nominal, and I'm not sure why. You know, I've had maybe 2-3 regions or clubs respond to the grant support. I just recently barely had one club respond or to the question, that the comment here that was just posted. You know, hey, we're struggling financially, we need some help. So that's being looked into right now by the regional director and that state association, because where you have state associations is that one of their top priorities is to make sure that these struggling clubs are getting help, whether it's financial, marketing, or whatever. They're the first tier where clubs should go for support to help them. And then if that doesn't happen, or they're not getting support, then they should make a direct appeal to their regional director, to the national office, to support them. But in spite of all that, I'll say that, yeah, we have outreach from the national office asking where do the clubs need the help? We hear this, but we don't have the boots on the ground like you all, like the clubs. You have to tell us, pull us into a work session or a focus group within your region so we can better understand this. But you know, so there is a bit of a disconnect with the communication there, because I'm hearing that clubs need support, but I don't know how. I don't know which clubs. When we look at financial reports, that's what we get at our end. You know, they all look pretty good. I haven't looked at them, the recent ones from last year, but you know, we haven't had clubs tell us they shut down because they couldn't pay the bills. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe they do need financial support. So I agree. We just need to know how we can help.
And Bob Buslich has a question.
Oh, Yes, not necessarily. Thank you, Carl. Not necessarily a question. However, the in October, there was a recommended price increase that was passed by the board. One of the key things to note in that price increase, the clubs were not tied into collecting only $4. They were given some latitude to either charge more or charge less as they deemed fit. In Mid-America region, there was one club who was only charging $3 and they're still making money. Most clubs are just charging the $4. However, they could be charging a lot more money because we are not just putting on walks, we are holding events. And every weekend, I see other groups. They are having events and charging $75 or more just to go on a 30-mile bike ride. What's the difference between what they're doing and what we're doing? Not only are we providing a venue, same as them, and we've jumped through a bunch of hoops with local authorities to get approval to hold the event, which generates expenses. If your club is not recovering the expenses of holding the event, maybe you should be charging more than the $4. That's all I have for this evening.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. So there is one difference with those other events and ours. And the big difference is that your clubs are covered. Your clubs are covered. They have general liability coverage should something happen during the event, and they try to sue the officers or AVA or who, so we have that coverage. And then something else, that when you go to those big events, the participants are not covered. So you're riding your bike and you fall, and if you have no health insurance, you're out of luck. If you're at one of our events, all participants, as long as they sign a waiver and they're logged in and everything, they have up to $10,000 minus the $100 deductible of medical coverage of health insurance if they don't have any insurance. So that's another big benefit from our events versus these other events that if you can't go to any event and they're going to cover you with insurance. But with ours, you currently do, but it only kicks in once if you don't have insurance at all, or once you you reach the cap for current insurance coverage that you might have. It covers up to $9,900. So I think that's a big plus for our events that we host.
Bob, your hand is still up. I assume you just need to put it down. Are there any other questions?
This is Sharon. I do have a comment. As our numbers declined in the Northwest region last year, the second half, it was like somebody turned the spigot off. And we're finding that many people who used to do walk along with one friend or just them, those are changing. It's just mostly group walks now. A lot of it, I think, is to do with safety and aging out. So we've seen a big transition in our numbers. The last half of last year, in fact, last year, we had fewer walkers than we did during the biggest time of the COVID shutdown, and Washington and Oregon were really shut down. So we're just seeing this downward trend continuing. We're probably going to be closing, 25 to 30% of our year rounds because of lack of usage. My particular Prime Club had six walks affected by walk boxes being taken out of places. So that's expense to the club, that's, $75 to replace all the materials in the boxes. So, we'll probably have a lot more that just stay OSB. All of ours in Washington are in OSB. So we're already there on that, but clubs are going to look really hard this second quarter at their numbers and, close a lot of the year rounds, refresh them and try to bring back, traditional events. I mean, group walks in some of these areas rather than a permanent box being in place.
I think group walks and traditional events are a good direction to go.
Hi, this is Jerry Wilson in Wisconsin, and I hear what you're saying. Boy, it was a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. Somebody took like 3, 4 of our boxes, and we lost some cash. We lost some checks, but it didn't seem to affect those people. I know one was Bonnie Johnson, and she was very concerned that her check was somewhere. And we had to replace those boxes, and it's another argument for the online start box.
Yep. Yeah, we found we don't keep money in boxes. We just they're all mail in, so we don't get affected by that. But 2 of it was new managers in the store. Rather than calling the number on the front of the box, they just discarded them. And another one was just last week. A druggie went into Metropolitan Market and walked out with the box, and the clerk tried to stop him, but he refused.
Man, it takes all kinds.
Well, and that's in a very high price neighborhood besides.
Wow.
Again, I'll remind everyone to use the raise hand function, and it looks like Bob has a follow-up question.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Carl. Not necessarily a follow-up question, but follow-up comment. One thing that, as Sharon has noted, I have also noted in the state of Indiana and my personal club that there was a lower number of participants during the first quarter, and for some of the state events, there was an equally lower number during the second quarter so far. But the circumstances are much different in 2008, 2009. Yes, gas prices really went up there, but most of the people our age who were in their early 70s now, we were still working back there in the 2008, 2009. And with the gas prices up, the overall rate of inflation was not that great. Right now, we are facing a completely different situation with high gas prices, high overall prices, and people with retirement incomes, they're going to feel a little more constrained than they did back in 2008 and 2009. So they won't be traveling out as much, especially to those remote events, which are nowhere near an interstate or within a reasonable distance of medical facility. So with that, we probably need to look at more group walks, clubs who want to increase their participation rates at those group walks. Well, at their events in general, should probably look at having group walks at their year-round seasonal events as opposed to doing a community event unless they want to, their intent is to attract free walkers. So with that,
These webinars are intended to last 1 hour. We have about 10 minutes left. Any other questions or comments for the discussion thus far? Okay, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. Henrie, do you want to open the session on the fee increase process?
Yeah, well, sure. I think we have another piece as well, Carl, but I think Bob already touched on it, but I just wanted to invite Ed or Bob to just explain what that process was, how that decision was made, and then Ed, maybe if you could just speak a little bit on the significance of the big give. Bob?
Well, I said, Bob touched upon the committee. I think we had 7 or so people on the committee, met for a good while. A lot of good research was done. It was, in bringing up what Pat said, and I know she was talking about at the club level, but how do you bring in additional revenue? Well, there's really only 2 ways to bring in additional revenue from operations. It's either or a combination of both. You get more participants or you raise your prices. Certainly over the last several years, we know what raising prices feels like because we're all going through it. But, the AVA had not raised its prices in 20 years. So, as far as the walks go. And so that was something that, we have to look at. We have to look at ways to be viable, to be a going concern as far as a business goes. And so there are some very dedicated people on the committee that met for as I said, a long period of time. We had a lot more meetings than I thought we would have, and I thought they were very productive. And then ultimately a recommendation was brought before the board, and the entire board voted on it so that each region was represented within that. So that was the process as far as that went. And Bob, if I'm missing something, let me know.
okay. No. Basically, one of the key things was that in 2001, or yes, 2001, the last time the fees were increased, $3 then purchased $3 in expenses. However, the current value of that $3 had increased to $5. So here we are continuing to collect $3, but we know the expenses are up by 60%, running at $5. So there's no way to make the budget balance with that kind of disparity. So, and some key things in the recommendations was to allow the clubs more latitude in terms of setting their fees, because they're not just tied to the $4. They can set their own reasonable fee based upon what they are offering. And with respect to the free walkers, That has been a long time problem. Excuse me. That could have been decided back in 2018 and or 2019. However, sometime back then it got lost. Who knows how that happened? But it was something that was coming anyway, and the timing of it at when the board was meeting was simply more appropriate, because based upon participation figures, the number of free walkers was not recovering as quickly as the number of paid participants at our events nationwide. I mention that nationwide because we tended to look, then key in on any specific region. Again, there was latitude allowed. So if anyone has any questions on the board, or not the board, regarding the committee action recommendation, feel free to ask.
And on the second point, with regard to the big give, we just have a couple minutes now, so I'm not going to take much time, but we'll be forming a committee. I'll be reaching out to some of you to help with this. I would love to get competition within the regions. You know, that the big give is, as I said, it's the biggest non-operational source of revenue that the national office has, that allows the insurance and all of the other things that the national office does for the clubs, but also to keep a national office presence so that we can be a 501c3 and get the benefits of that. And without a national office and all of that, we don't have conventions because we're all separate entities at that point, and don't have other big events. So it's a great fundraiser for us, and you know, I'm excited to help in any way I can, and I'll be asking you for your help, and really we'd like to get participation up, even if it's, you know, small amounts, but there's lots of ways to give, and there's lots of ways to give your time, and all of you have lots of friends, and so we're going to be reaching out to all of that. So I will be in touch, and I'm excited about moving forward on it.
Henry, did you have something else to discuss?
No, Carl.
Okay. So we are at about 58 minutes. Yep, 58 minutes.
Mhm.
Anybody have any final comments or questions? I'd like to thank Eileen and Henrietta for giving us their information on Las Cruces and El Paso and all of the things we can look forward to April 29th to May 3rd in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Hope to see all of you there. Should be a great time. Thanks to Henrie, Erin, and Ed for the discussion on the budget and other subjects that have come up, as well as Bob jumping in to share information from the committee's viewpoint. And with that, if there's no further questions, I don't see any hands raised. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.